We're in a fractal universe, which means that everything is on an ever-increasing or ever-diminishing scale of the same thing. And the thing that is scaled is the magnetic field and the geometry of the magnetic field, which I'm going to call particles, because that's the smallest framework of physical matter that we have is a particle. And as you scale that up in each order of magnitude, it essentially is the same thing, even though technically it's made of particles, made of molecules, but collectively they function as one particle. Everything is a magnetic field. It's made of a magnetic field. Magnetic fields are toroidal, but spherical if you count the dielectric aspect, the hyperbolic funnel of the dielectric force. There is a point of singularity at the center of each magnet. This is the source of all things, not from each individual molecule, each individual particle, but on a larger scale, on the grander scale, you get to black holes and galactic scale magnetic fields. They are such that they produce gas in space, spewing it out of the central point of singularity, feeding the cosmos, if you will, seeding it with more particles. And so everything is essentially a sphere. Particles to atoms to human cells, or just cells in general. Planets themselves are spherical, stars are spherical, black holes. The black hole is essentially just the point of singularity at the center of all magnets. You're not seeing the magnetic field. You're not seeing what you're seeing in a black hole is just the center point. That's how big the magnetic field is, that the center point is that size. That's how strong it is. It's a combination of size, but also strength of the magnetic field. And on the scale, the whole thing itself, the universe, is a giant black hole that we are inside. So atoms are large particles, planets are the next scale above the atom, stars are the next scale above planets. The planets around stars, all the little asteroids, all the particles, all the space dust around the star form the valence shells of the solar atom. Black holes are the next scale up from stars, and galaxies, the formation of galaxies are essentially the same as the ecliptic plane of the solar system. Life exists on the plane of inertia, which is like the equator of a magnet, the center line of a magnet between the two poles. And on a stellar scale, this would be the ecliptic plane of stars. On a galactic scale, it is the galactic plane. That is the plane of inertia. And the universe itself, you would have a plane of inertia that involves all the galaxies. That would be the shape of the universe. In terms of geocentrism, I have a theory that the entire cosmos, the observable cosmos, began with the so-called Big Bang, was where Earth is. And the whole thing fills out from the central point of Earth over eons of time, however long it was. Everything filling out, spewing out from that center point, slowing down over time. This would mean that the Earth itself was expanding from the center point. Initially, all the continents were together as one around the entire Earth. After a certain point, they began to break up. As it continued to expand, the continents broke up and formed what we now call the oceans. If you go back far enough, where there's so-called continental drift, all the continents do join together in one large mass, which they call Pangea. But if you think about it, really, it would wrap around an entirety of a smaller Earth. Because what they call Pangea doesn't make a lot of sense. The same Earth-sized planet has an entire landmass of all continents together as one piece on one side of the planet, and the other side is entirely ocean. It makes much more sense for the Earth to have been smaller and the landmass to have covered the whole thing, and that oceans only came later as it broke open, as it grew and expanded, and the Earth was stretched. Then the continents, the outer crust, the outer shell began to break open and split and form continents. The background radiation is aligned with the ecliptic plane. Quasars form concentric shells around the Earth. The planets are arranged in 5 spirals, or 5 ratios. You have to, when considering 5 ratios with the planets, it's much easier to see if you use kilometers. If you measure the distance in millions of kilometers, the numbers match the Fibonacci sequence very close, and a clearly discernible pattern. And I had a conversation with Grok last year, giving a series of planets, 10 or 12 planets, orbits, and their distances from the sun. And Grok concluded that it was beyond the probability of chance, random occurrence, for the arrangement to be what it is. Venus is the one that is most off from where it should be. The Fibonacci number for it would be 89, but its actual distance is 108. That one is clearly divergent, but the rest are close enough that they are an approximation match, such as Earth, 149 million kilometers away, and the Fibonacci equivalent would be 144. Earth is so precisely aligned for life. It's just the exact distance it needs to be from the sun. Of course, it would be too hot if it were closer, it would be too cold if it were farther away. We have a precessional shift of the angle of the Earth, the tilt of the Earth on its axis, provides the seasons so that you don't have perpetual cold in the north and perpetual in the equatorial tropical regions. If it were perfectly straight, it would not be very hospitable. We would not really be able to grow enough food for everybody. The fact that it has an axial tilt provides seasons, which allows food to be grown much farther north than it would be otherwise. The sun and the moon have a definite design aspect to them. The creator is showing his design in the sun and the moon. The moon is much larger than it should be for the size of the Earth, much larger than any other moon in the solar system compared to the planet it orbits. There is a moon out there, I believe it is Titan, around Saturn, that is larger than the Earth, but the planet it orbits is much, much larger, to the point where, in comparison, Titan is smaller than the moon in relation to Saturn. It has to do with the gravitational pull. The moon for Earth is much larger. What is it, like 1/6 the size of the Earth or something? The moon is 2,200 miles wide, 2/3 the size, or 2/3 the width of the U.S. Even though the moon has been proven to be hollow, it's not consistently solid. It has hollow sections in it, similar to Swiss cheese. The gravity of the moon is much stronger on the Earth than any other moon in the solar system would be. The result of that gravitational pull is the constant strain on Earth's crust. And it is the moon that, in fact, keeps the Earth alive in its orbit, pulling at the crust, keeping tectonic activity active, which causes volcanic activity to remain active, which is the perpetual churning of magma up onto the surface, which is renewal of the elements on the surface with new minerals. All of these things allow life to exist, and you just don't see that anywhere else. But I guess that's it for this one. I'll cut it off here, and I will talk to you later.